This is the Work at Home Heroes podcast. Your host, Caitlin Pyle, digs deep with people from all over the world who make money from home. Get ready to wake up to a world of possibility for freedom, flexibility, and a life you'll love.
Well, hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Work at Home Heroes podcast. I'm here with Karrie Stringer. She's joining us from Corfu, Greece, and we just talked before I hit record here, and we have all of our guests fill out an application before they come on the show. She's like, Caitlin, I'm not doing what I was doing when I filled out the application, so I'm actually really excited to dig into. She's pivoted a lot. She's really working towards finding her passion. I think that's really valuable for the listeners of the show because so many of us get stuck, and I know some of you are nodding your heads already. They don't even know what I'm about to say, or they do. So many of us they want to get started, but they want to find that perfect thing, and they won't get started until they know exactly what they're going to do for the rest of their lives. And Karrie has pivoted quite a lot. And so I want to say welcome to Karrie. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you very much. I'm pleased to be here.
Yeah, all the way from Corfu, Greece. She's about to have a glass of wine, right? I think you should have a glass of wine now, personally.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I know. I should have poured one out, actually, so I could just be sitting here drinking with a glass of wine in the as the sun goes down.
Yeah, it's perfect. It's perfect. So, yeah, any of our guests are welcome to have a glass of wine while they chat with me. I'm totally cool with that. Sometimes, as many of our Work at Home heroes know, I tend to do margaritas when I do live videos, and it just kind of it helps me out. So tell us who you are and what you do, and kind of you can talk as long as you want. Tell us your story.
Okay, so my story is I left corporate nearly 2 years ago now. I was in corporate for 18 years, and I just I was pushed into it. I don't know whether I would ever have done it, but I ended up with a choice between staying with the business and moving and commuting a lot more. So I would have got a bit more money, or I could take redundancy, which if you're American, I think that's I don't know what they call it in America, but it's basically you get a bit of money to leave if you've been there for a long time.
Severance.
Yeah, severance, that's the word, sorry. And I spent a couple of weeks kind of in a bit of a tears. Nobody would help me. Everybody went, whoa, that's a really big decision. You're going to have to do this one on your own. And I just decided, do you know what? I had enough. I had enough of all the corporate kind of politics. And I had been talking about, I wanted for years actually to buy a house abroad, and me and my partner had been talking about that for a long time. As I was making a decision, I guess, the vision of what I wanted kind of got firmed up because all of a sudden I had a chance to go, yeah, actually, let's just do it. Let's buy a house in Corfu and see if I can work from there. And I didn't know how I was going to do it. I had no idea, actually. There was one of my colleagues. I said, yeah, I'm going to take that money and I'm going to leave and I'm going to buy a house in Corfu. And she looked at me horrified and said, but how are you going to live? And I was like, I don't know. I've got a high level plan and I will figure it out. And so that's what I did. I've done a few things. So I tried, especially your point about you starting, I didn't know what I was going to do. But as soon as I told people, this is what I'm doing, and I wasn't kind of at that stage, I wasn't pitching for work. That was actually before I'd left. I was getting ready. And I just talked to a few people in my network, just people that I know, specific business that I was asking them about a system that they had that I thought would be useful for me in what I was going to do. And they asked me to do some work for them. And then somebody else came up and said, oh, my partner needs, she's a small business and she really needs some help with her menu because she had just opened a coffee shop. And then somebody else that I was in my network and who had left at the same time, they gave me a call and said, oh, I don't suppose you could give us a hand. We need some help for a few months. This isn't exactly your thing, but I know you'd be able to do it. So I ended up with 3 quite big contracts fairly quickly. That was literally just by talking about it to people. And then I kind of decided that I thought what I wanted to do was help restaurants improve their profits, because that's what a lot of what I did in corporate, and I built up a big team and saved quite a few £1 million. That was my job.
Wow.
Yeah, well, yeah, it sounds good. It was basically managing 12 projects that changed twice a year. So 12 menus that changed twice a year. So you had basically 24 projects in a year all on the go at the same time, plus a whole lot. Corporate makes it sound like it's, I don't know who's worked in corporate, but they always, I don't know, there's an impression that they're really organised, and it's not always like that.
Nope, not even close.
No. So I was the organiser. So I was usually the person that would go, we've put this project in and we've done this and it's not working. We don't know what to do. Could you help? So there's a lot of that kind of crap, basically.
Cleaning up messes.
Yeah, firefighting. I was always the one, can you help? I used to go, did you do what I said to you when you told me about this at the beginning? No. Well, okay.
Do that and then come back.
So anyway, I kind of, what I did, a few things. I had these projects on the go, helping restaurants with their margin and their menus. They don't have an awful lot of cash. And to employ somebody like me was going to be really expensive for them. And bearing in mind in food, the margin's not particularly great. So, to employ me for a few grand, which I was getting in consultancy, so it was a bit difficult. I just thought that I would do some workshops so I could teach a few people the things they needed to know at the same time. I did the workshops. All I did was I went to, there's a kind of a town council guy, and somebody mentioned him, that there was this guy. I just went to them and said, I'd like to do these workshops. I did a very brief outline and he offered to pay me. And the weird thing was I was going to do them for free for practice. And when I explained them to him, he was like, okay, yeah, how much do you want? And I was like, oh, okay. And I said, well, 200 per workshop. And bearing in mind they were only 2 hours long, the material was something I knew really well. So I did spend quite a long time on it, actually, because they were from my first ones, but it was pretty good. By trying it, though, what I realised was, although I liked workshops and I liked working with people, actually face-to-face, or even now I do some online stuff, but actually talking to people was one of the things I enjoyed. I didn't really enjoy the subject matter. It's one of those things that I knew inside, or I still do. I know inside and out, and I still do use the same kind of knowledge in my consultancy practice.
Yeah.
So to build it up with one-to-ones, I kind of I carried on for a little bit longer because I kept thinking that, and a lot of the advice is start with what you know, take your skills, what you've learned and all this kind of stuff. And I thought, well, I do know a lot about it. I know that people need it. I was on the Facebook groups doing all the things that you needed to do. And I got another contract and then I just couldn't face it. I thought, I don't really want to be doing this for people. So I just ditched it just before Christmas and decided, well, if I don't want to do that, then I need to really figure out what else I want to do. I'm still doing consultancy all the way through, and that's what gives me the income. So I'm lucky. I've got some padding. I mean, I don't have any savings left because every single penny went on the house in Corfu that I'm sitting in now, but I can earn money every month. So through not very many days. So I probably only work 4 or 5 days a month. And that gives me the cash to keep going. And then while I do that, I've been doing some testing. So I've been coaching a small business that I started to help with their menu. And then sorry, this is going on for ages, but I started to help with their menu. And then that morphed into a much more of a coaching situation where I was helping her. She has lots and lots of ideas. She has 5 businesses and she was quite overwhelmed. So, and I was just like, you need a plan. I mean, I'm used to overwhelm and going, right, there's a project, it's not working. What am I going to do? And figuring out what we really need to do, the priorities. So I've been doing that. And then some beta testing for some people who want to leave their corporate work and start their own business, but just don't know where to start. Because I found that one of the things I'm really good at is helping people to figure out what their idea really is, what they're good at, what they want to do. Because for me, it's all about having really, really strong vision. Otherwise, you're never going to do it to start with and go through that whole process. And now I'm literally starting now to write a whole load of content, or a content plan anyway. So that's me. That's where I am. Sorry.
I love it. Well, I want to pull out a few things that I'm hearing from you. One is you took a risk and you used the skills that you had, even though you knew it wasn't your passion, but you used it to make a profit anyway, because that's what you had to work with. And instead of waiting and being miserable in the job that you didn't like, you said, hey, I'm going to go and do this thing because when else am I going to do it? And you took that risk. I don't know very many people who would just be like, you know what? I don't like my job. I'm going to spend all of my savings on a house in Greece. And, people just, the average person doesn't do that. And I just totally dig it that you did that. And then when you decided you didn't like it, you're like, all right, I'm done, and you kept doing the consulting, the part of it that you did like, and you're solving people's problems. So that's the key. Is that people are like, okay, well, what do I want to do? What is my passion? What is the thing that's perfect for me? And it's all me centered. you saw people in your network because you talked to them. That's another mistake people make, is they don't go and they talk to people. You did. You talked to people, and people just told you what their problems were. And you had mentioned that you're really good at figuring out what people want. And so when you talk to people and figure out what they want, you figure out what their pain points are and why they're not getting what they want. And that's the problems that you can then swoop in like a hero and solve, right? Well, Work at Home Heroes is a Work at Home Heroes podcast, and you are helping out people that have problems, and that's really all making money is. And you sound very happy. Are you happy, Karrie?
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously days where you think, oh my God, what?
Of course, yeah.
What? I mean, the van broke. We drove a van over here from England. That was fun. And so we had to buy a car. Now, when I was in corporate, you always have that money coming in. It's like, oh yeah, fine, that'll be fine, go and buy a car. But then when you're self-employed, your own business, you're thinking, oh my God, I've got my tax bill coming up, I've got to do this. But there's always a bit of a, can I keep this going? But the longer it goes on and the more things you try, the more confident you get. And, now I've been doing this consulting with systems, and it was weird because before I left the corporate, I was a bit like, oh, would anybody pay me for this? And I was lucky. There was a lot of people that I really respected who were quite high up who just kept saying, God, yeah, people will pay a fortune for what you do, for what you know. And they did really encourage me. And it was literally talking to those people that gave me a lot of courage, talking to people in my network, talking about what I thought I could do. And because I started actually with stuff that was clear, that was part of my expertise, it gave me that bit of confidence, because everybody, so many people were just like, oh, of course that's what you do. People would pay for it. And if you think about it, you already get paid for it. If you're in a job, you're just taking it out to more employers. So
exactly.
Yeah. If you think that you want to do something, talking about what you're trying to do, even if it's like not really exact. I mean, I didn't know, and I kept laughing. I was saying to people, some of these people were quite high up, directors and stuff like that, because that's the type of people I was talking to. There was a bit of me that was kind of almost like, yeah, I'm thinking about doing this, but I stopped saying it like that and just told myself, just say it like you're doing it with confidence. And actually, that really helped. Although it wasn't, 100%. The one-liner, the elevator pitch that you've got to do, it was clear enough that people could understand. And then they were just like, yeah, that's brilliant. Go and see this person because, they probably need some help. I reached out to people. I had an old boss who had left the business about 10 years before. And we'd vaguely stayed in touch, said, happy birthday on LinkedIn or whatever. And I just sent him a message, and I did this to a few people, and I said, this is what I'm doing. And he said, oh, do you know what? Come and meet me. I might have something for you. And I was like, wow. And actually, he did have a really good opportunity, but I didn't want to, would have been really good, but it would have meant that I would have been based in the UK. And that's one of the things as well is, I had a very clear idea of how I wanted to live. And being in the UK all of the time wasn't part of that, because I want to be wearing flip-flops, which is why I'm wearing now. My flip-flops, my shorts. I want to be near the sea. I want to be in the sun. It needs to be peaceful. I want to be cooking fresh food. And for me, the UK wasn't going to give me what, not to mention the fact that in Corfu, if anybody was interested, you can buy a house for the same amount as you need for a deposit on a house in the UK.
Wow. I lived in Ecuador for 3 months, and I lived in I lived in a 750 square foot apartment condo, really, with everything included, weekly cleaning, all of the furniture was beautiful. It was a brand new condo, and my rent was $550 a month, and that included everything like utilities, wireless or high speed.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Even. Yeah, so your dollars just go a lot faster. And you touched on confidence pretty heavily there. And I think we always talk about the big mistakes that newbies make, because there's a lot of newbies listening to this podcast. And it's thinking that you have to be confident before you start and before you know what you're doing. And the reality is, like, the better you are at what you do, you have to polish your skills. No professional violin player, tennis player, basketball player, Harvard professor woke up and was just automatically good at what they do. They took a lot of time to practice. And that's a lost art. I think people just expect to be good at the thing they want to do. And you also, you made a decision, you had a clear vision for what exactly you wanted. And I think that is a mistake that some people make, is they're like, I just don't like what I have right now, but they're not clear on what they want. And so it's harder for them to actually take action toward what they want because they don't know.
Yeah.
So you spent 3 months in Corfu this summer.
Yeah, that was last summer, and I'm back here now. So I went back to the UK in the winter. I had a lot of on-site consultancy over the winter, and actually this is a new thing for them because I've now said, well, I'm in Corfu, I can do it online, and I have to go back for a couple of weeks where we've got to do workshops, which is, needs to be in person. But yeah, that's all kind of all working out now. So I literally work from Corfu, and they laugh at me because I'm like, it's not sunny enough, I haven't got a tan yet. And they're all sitting in England. The thing that I always think with practice, especially now, I've been going through this kind of stuff, is it when you leave university or you leave school and you go into a job, in fact, any job, if you leave your job now and go to a different job, you don't know how to do it. You have to figure it out. You go into a job, you get told about how to do this, you get told about where the coffee machine is and what the process is for this and, how to use that system. And it's the same if you're doing it for yourself. The thing is, because you're responsible for it, you have to go out and search how to do things. But with something like the consultant stuff, in theory, I knew how to do what I'm doing. But actually, a lot of it's been new. A lot of it's been, I've just gone, I kind of know that, and I'll figure it out on the way. If I don't know that, then I'll find out the answer. And
yeah, exactly.
I think that's what people forget sometimes, is even if you go to a new job, you don't know what all the answers are, but you're confident enough that you'll figure it out.
Not knowing how is not an excuse not to learn. And that was something that held me back a lot when I was first starting my online business back in 2014. I was like, well, I don't know how to start a blog. I don't know how to write an ebook. And so I just didn't do it. And I look back and I was like, that was so dumb. And finally, of course, I did. But I realized how much I was letting I don't know how be an excuse to not learn. And I think a lot of us have that fixed mindset. They don't know how to do something, that they're not going to be able to figure it out. But you're right. When we work at regular jobs, we have our first day of school, we don't know what we're going to learn over the next few semesters or whatever, but we learn, and then we come out on the other side better people, and we're confident in what we learned, assuming that we actually learned it and didn't just, Christmas tree the test and, do the bare minimum. So you're a lot happier now. What does your typical day look like? Do you get up early? Do you sleep in?
So my typical day is I get up early anyway. I've always done that. So I generally coffee. We've got a cat that we brought over from England in the van with a washing machine and a fridge. And 5 stray cats have adopted us. So 3 are in one family, and then there's one we picked up on the side of the road. So I have to go outside and feed the cats. Otherwise, they just start meowing, going, where are you? And then I usually get online. It depends whether I've got what I've got. So today I had a meeting online with the company that I am consulting with, so I have to be careful about not saying the name. I had a meeting with her for an hour, and then I was testing the system that we're implementing for them. And that was pretty much it. So that was about 5 hours. Tomorrow will be just another call. Friday will be a conference call with another client, and also some more testing, because we're in kind of an implementation phase at the moment. And then some days I just get up, have breakfast, and I will work on things like what I need my bio to be, my website. And for another client, I've also kind of implemented Facebook. So days are different. Not every day's the same. I'm usually on my laptop. I will say you have to be careful, because it's very easy to go, oh, sod it, I'm going to go to the beach. Mm-hmm. Or my partner goes, oh, come on, you're only on your laptop. I'm like, but I am working. So there's a difference, I find, certainly with people, family. If I'm doing paid work, as in, I'm doing these hours for a consultant client and go away, leave me alone, that's fine. But it's the stuff that you do that is outside of that you kind of have to do for your business, like building your own website, building your content, all of that kind of stuff. You can let that easily slip, especially if you're like me and you've got money coming in. Yeah. I actually work better when I've got some
pressure.
Yeah, like real pressure. Yeah. that's kind of a big difference actually when you leave corporate or, you leave your
You
job.
have to make it happen, and it's up to you if it's going to happen. So
Yeah,
and you're making it happen.
absolutely.
And it sounds like you're happy and you've got a really good work-life balance. And unfortunately, we're running out of time, so I want to make sure we have time for you to answer this question. The question I ask every guest at the very end of our time together, and that's about fear, because there's a lot of people that are listening, and we've had a lot of good nuggets in this conversation about, being clear on what you want, knowing that confidence comes with practice, not waiting until you find the perfect thing. But there's probably still somebody at home who's like, you know what? I really like the idea of moving to someplace sunny because it's freezing right now. Because, at the time of this filming, I've seen some pictures of people living in Minnesota and they're covered in snow. And I was like, why would anybody want to live there? I don't know. So they might be thinking something similar. I want to move to Greece or I want to move to Ecuador or something, but they're still scared to get started. What advice would you give to someone who wants to get started working for themselves, but they're just scared?
We all have the fears. So the thing for me, what I did was actually I wrote them down. I kind of just thought, what are they? Stupid. I mean, it ranged from really stupid things like, how am I going to be able to afford to get my hair cut? Seriously, I had this vision in my head of me as a hobbled old lady in poverty in Corfu with no running hot water. And I wrote these sorts of things. I think at that point, I was like, hold on a second, that can't possibly be true. So I wrote those things down. As soon as you write it down, you go, it's not true. I can't prove any of it. It's not like I know for a fact this is going to happen. And then on the opposite side, I wrote down all of the things that I have accomplished and done in my life. Actually, I went quite a long way back. I try to actually, if I get out of this habit, the fears do come back. You have to kind of keep writing down the things that you've accomplished and go, do you know what? I don't know what's going to happen in the future, but I know that I've done that and I've figured all this out. So I've got to be able to figure out some other stuff. And the worst thing that can happen, is I'll have to go and get another job. If that's the worst, what's the best?
I think that's really, really smart. I mean, just really asking yourself, what's the worst that can happen? Face the fears, be real. Are they true, or are you just making excuses? And often, I mean, it sounds like that's what happened to you. You realize that your fears were just excuses and they were not based in fact, and that you really had no idea what was going to happen. And pretty much the exact opposite of what you feared was more likely to happen, which looks like is what's happening. And I think it's so important to create a vision of what you actually want in your life, what you want your life to be like. And if you don't have that, then the worst case scenario, you just go get another job. You have experience. You have people that would hire you if you really needed it. And that's the worst thing that could happen. And so let's take the risk because your fallback plan is solid. And the reality is most of us could, if we really needed the money, could just suck it up and do like a call center job or things that we say we never want to do, or we don't want to stoop that low or whatever. But if we really needed the money, we would figure it out. Because that pressure is real. You don't want to go live under a bridge. You don't want to be a poor lady in Corfu, right? And so you make it happen and you find out who you are, what you value most, and how you want to live your life. And you just make the decision and you are committed to it. And like you said, it doesn't mean that you have to leave your job right away and start panicking. But once you make that decision, you have to take the steps toward it.
Yes.
So
making a decision and then actually doing something, and not, you can't get too caught up in, I should have done this yesterday or I should have done that. I mean, I've done it. I've gone, oh my God, I should have been doing this like 2 years ago. And then I realized actually, you have to go through this journey and there's no way. I mean, there's lots of businesses or things that I could have done, but I've changed my career 3 times. This will be my 3rd time now. And I want to be doing something that I want to be doing for a long time. Always before, I've kind of just gone into something because I didn't want to do X. Mm-hmm. And this time I want to design it based on the life that I want. And then, my work will, the way I earn money will have to fit into that, because I've done enough of working and my life how I want to live, having to fit into the way that I work. That's gone. That's the big decision for me was, I'm not going to do that. I want a life that I can say, this is my life and I love it. Not, God, where the hell is it? What happened to my life? I don't want, make a decision and then literally just taking action and not beating yourself up about it. If you feel like you have missed the boat or you should be doing other stuff, but always do something every single day.
Yeah. It's never too late and you're never too old to create the life you want. And Karrie, I just want to say thank you so much for being on the Work at Home Heroes podcast. Where can people reach you if they want to get in touch with you, ask you questions? Of course, we're tagging you in the Work at Home Heroes Facebook group for your episode. And so we can have the chat over there. But if they want to reach out to you personally, where can they do that?
Yeah, that's karriestringer.com or contact@karriestringer.com. The website's almost live. I've still got a few more changes to do. But my email address is all up and running, so it's contact@karriestringer.com.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Karrie.
Thank you for having me on. It's been lovely talking to you.
Well, thanks again for listening, everyone. I hope you got some value from this episode. There will be links in the show notes. As always, feel free to join our Work at Home Heroes Facebook community where we discuss all the episodes in a dedicated thread. If you found this episode useful or any of the past episodes, I'd love it if you would leave us a review. It will help us reach more people with our message and keep bringing you these success stories. Talk to you in the next episode.
Thanks for listening to the Work at Home Heroes podcast with Caitlin Pyle. Be sure to listen to previous episodes at caitlinpyle.co/podcast. While you're there, read the show notes and check out all the great links and resources mentioned in this episode and more. You can also subscribe to the Work at Home Heroes podcast so you'll automatically be notified when our next episode is available. Remember, as Caitlin says, mo skills means mo money.